of human rights of the Khoisan people have come to an end. The South African Human Rights Commission has been hosting these since late last year. This after communities filed complaints against government saying they are not recognized and don't have access to basic services. To tell us more, we joined in studio by Dr Danny Titus. He's the commissioner from the South African Human Rights Commission. Dr, goeiemôre en baie welkom aan Money Live.
Goeiemôre.
Baie dankie vir u tyd. Now, the public hearings, you've been to Johannesburg, you've been to Cape Town, and recently to the Northern Cape. What came out of those public hearings?
What came out, Palesa, is a concern by Khoisan peoples that they are not recognized in South Africa. And for us as a Human Rights Commission, it is important that we have human rights for all of us. If there are people that feel they are outside of the Constitution, if there are people that feel they are not protected by the Bill of Rights, then we have to step in. And this happens at a wide range of issues in terms of violence against women, against racism, against xenophobia, etc. And yes, when it came to these kinds of complaints, we stepped in and decided, instead of investigating each and every complaint that we received, let us go the route of the public hearings. And in this sense, people came forward to us to indicate to us how they feel discriminated, they feel left out of the Constitution in terms of their language, in terms of their culture, in terms of representation in government. There are some houses of traditional leaders. There is a bill before Parliament at the moment which we hope will be finalized and bring clarity soon. So in broad, those are the issues that came to the fore, very closely linked then also to service delivery complaints that people had.
But just before we get to the service delivery concerns, the fact that they're saying they're not recognized or they don't feel recognized, it's not something new, I believe. Is it for the first time that the Human Rights Commission is investigating these concerns? Because we do know that they've always been crying out that, you know, we're not recognized, our culture is not recognized, similar to those living in South Africa.
No, you're absolutely right. It's certainly not the first time. It has been coming on for a long, long time. And people come to us with long historical claims indicating their rootedness in the country, their histories that have been acknowledged in the country. But when it comes to the history books, when it comes to the broader mainstream of South Africa, they feel they are not recognized. So yes, that is a complaint that has been coming on for a long time.
So what are they saying? Do they want their history to be written as well?
Yes, certainly. They feel that when it comes to colonization, when it comes to the people that were here first, they feel very strongly about that they want that kind of acknowledgement. And also when it comes to the history books, they were very strong submissions about their parents, about slavery that stepped in, about the people that came from Europe, the Bartholomeus Diases, the Vasco da Gamas, the Jan van Riebeecks, met with them and how they had to engage with them, how they were engaged in liberation wars at the time, and they feel that is not recognized. So we found, particularly at the University of the Sol Plaatje University, where we had our first hearings, that there was quite a receptive mode at the university for these issues, because they say heritage in the Northern Cape is one of their prime motivations and rationale for that university, and they certainly would like to make available their infrastructure. So that has been a great positive to us when we were in Kimberley, to realize how we can bring indigenous peoples, the Khoisan peoples in particular, and they've got different tribes under them as well, to bring those kinds of histories under archives and documentation, which they have reams and reams of paper, but to have the university to support them in that. So that has been a plus to us.
Now, they also complain of poor service delivery. What living conditions do they live under? I've been to Platfontein in the Northern Cape, and when you get there, you're like, oh my word, are people living here? But you have also been to Cape Town and Johannesburg. What living conditions do they have to live under?
I think your experience in Platfontein is pretty much representative of the extremes that we experience. In Johannesburg and Cape Town, not so much, because people have urbanized, people have become more westernized, if you want to. But when it comes to the Northern Cape, we can really see the vastness of the areas, the land that they had in the past that's been taken away. And particularly, again, we had numerous submissions around Platfontein, service delivery, basic issues of water.
And the land claims, because
Absolutely.
apparently there are like 89 land claims applications that are still outstanding for them.
Yes, you know, this was the other fortunate thing, that we had the Department of Land Reform there that came and testified. So, in fact, throughout our hearings, Mr. Tami Ndonswa from the Land Reform Commission was there consistently and sharing with people what they were doing. I mean, these statistics of 89 claims come from him. But also indicating that when it says it is not settled, it means they are in negotiation around those claims. They are really entering into serious discussions, serious negotiations, because it is quite extensive to go through those processes. He came in particular to share with us how the cut-off date for land claims has been 1913 Land Claims Act, and also, as you may remember, the State President in one of his State of the Nation addresses indicated in 2013, 2014, thereabout, that it needs to be open, because you cannot have 1913 as a cut-off date when it comes to the Khoisan peoples. The President acknowledged that it should be open because their land were taken away from them many years ago. So that has been opened, and in that process to open it, that is where the department came in, indicated what their steps are, and people are participating in that. We were given submissions of concrete land claims that became stuck. That because there are interests behind land claims, there are mineral rights, mineral claims behind land claims, there are private sector, public sector interests behind that. So it's quite a difficult process to go through.
I can imagine.
And that has been what we were quite interested to follow up, not to take over the work of the Land Claims Commission or the court, but just to see how we can help to make it unstuck.
Now, Dr. Titus, now that the Commission is involved, what is the way forward? Are we going to see the processes whereby the recommendations and the submissions are made before we can actually see the concrete solutions to their problems?
I'm afraid from our side we have to go through the report first. We have to work through all the submissions first. We have to put the report together first and consider it very seriously, and then make our recommendations to Parliament, to the relevant parliamentary portfolio committees, and then to the different departments. I was called, incidentally, the morning of our meeting in Uppington by the Premier to say that she was sorry that she could not be there, but indicating that she was very interested in the outcomes of the process. So we suggested to her that we will provide her with an interim report, because there are low-hanging fruits. There are very simple things that can be addressed very easily. Things like just putting a fence around people's graves where the animals are just walking over those graves. Things like put toilets. Things like just putting people in touch with relevant officials. We had the public protector of the Northern Cape there as well in the hearings. And we could just put him in contact with the people there who never thought he was accessible to them. So that kind of making services, making government departments, officials visible to people and vice versa, that has also been a very positive outcome to us. But back to your question, we certainly would like to finalize this report as soon as possible and to give it the substance that it requires.
So Northern Cape was the last leg of the public hearings?
Formally, yes. We have been approached by people in KZN, Khoisan people in the Eastern Cape. There's been a long tradition between Xhosa people and Khoisan people in the Eastern Cape. There are people from the West Coast, people from Oudtshoorn and Mossel Bay, who also says we have to come around to them.
So an extension might be considered in the long run?
I'm not so sure they will reach that.
But it looks like it,
with
the number of
complaints. We'll have to make it as a recommendation, but we cannot do everybody.
Well, thank you very much. That's Dr. Danny Titus. He's the Commissioner from the South African Human Rights Commission, talking to us about the public hearings on the recognition of the San community. Well, we're taking a break.